The first time Elias found the library, he was trying to forget his own name. Not because he hated it. He had simply grown tired of hearing it spoken with disappointment. Elias, why did you leave? Elias, why did you not answer? Elias, why were you the one who survived? Grief has a way of turning into an accusation. So one winter evening, while rain dragged down the windows of the city, Elias walked without direction. He passed shops closing for the night. He passed couples under umbrellas. He passed a church where candles flickered behind red glass. And then he came to a narrow street he had never seen before. It was not hidden behind mist. It did not appear in a flash of magic. It simply waited between two buildings, thin and quiet, as if it had always been there. At the end of the street stood a library. No sign hung above the door. No hours were posted. But warm gold light shone through the windows, and something about it made Elias feel like a child standing outside his grandmother's kitchen. He pushed the door open. A bell rang once. The ceiling rose so high that the upper shelves vanished into shadow. Ladders leaned against balconies. Lamps burned with steady amber flames. Books filled every wall. Not hundreds, not thousands, too many. The kind of too many that made the mind give up counting. Behind a crescent-shaped desk sat an old woman with white hair braided down to her waist. She did not look up from the book she was reading. "You are late," she said. Elias almost turned around. "Sorry?" The woman turned a page. "Everyone is late when they arrive here." Elias looked back at the door. The city was still there beyond the glass. Rain, streetlights, the ordinary world. That made him feel braver. "I think I came in by mistake." The woman smiled faintly. "No one finds this place by mistake." That was when Elias noticed the book on the desk in front of her. His name was written on the cover, Elias Vey. The sight of it made his stomach tighten. "Is that mine?" The woman finally looked up. Her eyes were not old. They were bright and sharp and full of stars. "All books are borrowed," she said. "But yes, this one concerns you." Elias reached for it. The woman placed one finger on the cover, careful. "Why?" "Because most people do not enjoy meeting themselves without decoration." "I know who I am." The woman looked almost kind. "No, you know the story you tell when someone asks?" She opened the book. The first page showed Elias as a boy, sitting under a kitchen table while his mother and father argued above him. Not a painting, not words, a moving memory. He saw his small hands pressed over his ears. He saw the cracked yellow tile. He heard his father say things Elias had spent years pretending he did not remember. Elias stepped back. "What is this?" The woman turned another page. "You." The next page showed him at 13, breaking a neighbor's window and letting his little brother take the blame. Another page. 17, standing outside a hospital room, too afraid to enter before his mother died. Another page. 26, ignoring his brother's call because he was busy, angry, tired. Another page. The accident. Elias looked away before it could begin. "Close it." The woman did. For a while, the library was quiet except for rain tipping against the windows. Elias swallowed hard. "Why show me this?" "Because you came here asking to forget." "I did not ask anything. You did, just not with words." The woman rose from the desk and walked into the shelves. Elias should have left. Instead, he followed. They passed rows of books with names on their spines. Some were thick as bricks, some were thin as matchbooks. Some glowed faintly, some trembled, some were wrapped in chains. One book screamed when Elias walked too close. He stopped. The woman did not. "Some people cannot bear their own story being touched," she said. "Are they dead? Some." "Are these all lives?" The woman paused beside a shelf so tall it disappeared into darkness. Lives, choices, regrets, lies, truths, promises kept, promises abandoned, the names people were given, the names they earned, the names they hid from. Elias stared at the endless shelves. Everyone has one? Everyone who has something they refuse to read? She pulled a book from the shelf and handed it to him. This one had no title. The cover was dark blue, worn at the corners. When Elias opened it, he saw his brother, Tomas. Tomas was sitting in his car with rain hammering the windshield. His phone lay in the passenger seat. Elias's name glowed on the screen, calling. Elias knew this moment. He had seen it in nightmares. Tomas had called him 7 minutes before the crash. Elias had not answered. He had told everyone he missed the call. He had seen the phone light up. He had let it ring. He had been angry at Tomas that night. Angry about money. Angry about their father. Angry about being needed. 7 minutes later, Tomas drove through a red light and into the path of a truck. Elias tried to close the book. The pages would not move. In the memory, Tomas wiped his face with his sleeve. He was crying, not drunk, not careless, crying. I do not want to be alone tonight. Elias gripped the book so hard his fingers hurt. The page changed. Now he saw the funeral. He saw himself standing beside the coffin, accepting grief like a punishment he deserved. He saw people embrace him, call him strong. He saw himself nodding. Then the page split. Not torn, split, as if two versions of the same life were trying to exist at once. On one side, Elias kept walking through the years as he had, quiet, polite, useful, empty. On the other side, Elias answered the phone. He heard Tomas crying. He drove through the rain. He found his brother sitting in the parked car outside their father's old house. They fought, they shouted, they said cruel things. Then they sat together until dawn. Tomas lived. Elias dropped the book. It hit the floor open, pages fluttering. That is not fair, he whispered. The woman said nothing. You cannot show me that. Elias turned on her. Why would you show me a life I cannot have? The lamps flickered. Far above them, something moved among the upper shelves. The woman's voice became softer, because that is the life you keep pretending was never possible. Elias wanted to hate her. It would have been easier if she were cruel, but she only looked tired. He backed away. I want to leave, of course. She led him back to the desk. His book waited there, closed. The pale cover looked almost innocent now. At the door, Elias stopped. Can I change it? The woman tilted her head. The past? No. He shut his eyes. Then why bring me here? A library does not change the book already written. Then what does it do? The woman touched his book with one careful hand. It helps the reader stop skipping pages. Elias opened the door and stepped back into the rain. The narrow street was gone the moment he turned around. For 3 weeks, he tried to live normally. He went to work, he bought groceries, he answered messages, he slept badly. Every ringing phone made his chest tighten. Every rainy night pulled him back into the memory of Tomas sitting alone in the car. Then, one afternoon, Elias went to see his father. They had not spoken in 11 months. His father lived in a small apartment above a closed tailor shop, surrounded by unpaid bills and television noise. When Elias knocked, the old man opened the door and looked irritated before he looked ashamed. What do you want? Elias almost left. Instead, he said, I need to ask you about the night Tomas died. His father's face hardened. No. I need to know why he went to the old house. No, Dad. His father slammed a hand against the doorframe. I said no. Elias felt the old anger rise, the familiar anger, the easy one, the one that made grief feel like someone else's fault. But behind it, he heard Tomas's voice from the book. I do not want to be alone tonight. So Elias did not shout. He sat on the hallway floor. His father stared at him. What are you doing? Waiting. For what? For you to stop being afraid before one of us dies too. The old man looked away. A minute passed. Then his father opened the door wider. Inside, they sat at a table with 2 cups of coffee growing cold between them. His father told him that Tomas had come by that night to return a key. They argued. Tomas had left crying. Then he called Elias. Then the crash happened. When the story ended, Elias expected to feel hatred. Instead, he felt something worse, recognition. His father had not killed Tomas. Elias had not killed Tomas. But they had both helped build the silence he died inside. The old man cried without sound. Elias did not forgive him. That night, Elias dreamed of the library. Not the warm lower floors, the upper shelves, the dark ones. A book up there was shaking. Chains clattered around it. Something inside whispered his name. He woke before dawn with rain tapping against the window. On his kitchen table sat a library card. It was black. His name was written across it in silver ink. Beneath it were 4 words. Return what you borrowed. Elias did not understand until he saw the book beside it. Thomas Vey, the dark blue cover, the one he had dropped. Elias backed away. No, the book opened by itself. Pages turned. They stopped on a memory Elias did not recognize. Thomas at age 9, hiding under the same kitchen table Elias once hid beneath. Only this time, Elias was there too. Older, maybe 12. He was holding Thomas's hand. The page glowed. Elias had forgotten this, not because it was terrible, because it was kind. That was somehow worse. The pages turned again. Thomas at 16, laughing so hard milk came out of his nose. Thomas at 21, carrying Elias home after a night Elias barely remembered. Thomas leaving a voicemail Elias had deleted without listening. The book played it now. Hey, I know you are mad. I am mad too, but you are still my brother. Call me back when you can. Elias covered his mouth. The book was not only full of the death, it was full of everything around it. The good, the stupid, the tender, the ordinary. All the pages grief had burned away. At sunset, Elias found the narrow street again. This time, he did not wander into it by accident. He walked like a man going to court. The library waited. The old woman stood behind the desk. You brought it back, she said. Elias placed Thomas's book before her. I stole it? Borrowed. I did not mean to. Most borrowing begins that way. She reached for the book, but Elias kept his hand on it. Can I read the rest? Her expression changed, only slightly. That is not a small request. Why? Because the dead are not stories made for the comfort of the living. Elias nodded. I know. Do you? He looked down at his brother's name. No, but I want to. The woman studied him for a long time. Then she led him to a reading table beneath a lamp shaped like a crescent moon. Elias sat. The book opened. He read until morning. He read memories where he was the villain. He read memories where he was beloved. He read things Thomas had never said aloud. He read jokes, fears, dreams, lies, small envies, unexpected kindnesses. He read the whole impossible shape of a person, not a saint, not a tragedy, not the dead brother frozen forever at the worst moment of everyone's life. A person. When the final page came, Elias found only one sentence, not written in silver, not glowing, just ink. I hope he answers next time. Elias bowed his head and wept. When he looked up, the old woman sat across from him. What happens now? He asked. She closed Thomas's book. Now you return to your own. I do not want to read mine. No one does. Will it hurt? Yes. Will it help? Not at first. Elias laughed softly through his tears. That is a terrible advertisement for a library. The woman smiled. We have never needed one. She placed his pale book on the table. For a long time, Elias did not touch it. Then he opened the cover. The first pages were familiar. The hiding, the anger, the phone call, the funeral. But this time, he kept reading. He read past the guilt, past the part where he had decided his life ended with his brothers, past the lie that punishment was the same as love. Eventually, he reached pages that had not been written yet. They were blank, not empty, waiting. Elias touched one. Ink spread beneath his fingers. A sentence appeared. Tomorrow, Elias called someone before silence could become another grave. He stared at it. Who? The old woman rose from her chair. That is not for the book to decide. When Elias left the library, dawn was touching the city. The rain had stopped. The street was still there behind him. For once, it did not vanish. His phone felt heavy in his pocket. He scrolled through names, old friends, unanswered messages, people he had avoided because grief made every conversation feel like a debt. At last, he called his father. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. For a moment, Elias thought there would be no answer. Then a tired voice said, "Hello?" Elias looked back at the narrow street. Warm gold light glowed at the end of it. He thought of the endless shelves, the chained books, the blank pages, the dead who were more than their endings, the living who still had time to answer. He took a breath. "Dad," he said, "I do not want to be alone today." There was silence on the other end. Then his father began to cry. And somewhere far behind Elias, deep inside the library that remembers everyone, A page turned,